नावितटवने जगमनलोभा एवा दक्षिणे ताये चान त्वमे गदाधर दक्षिणे निकटे द्वैतशिने वास छत्रधारा बाबसे गोराचा रत्न सिंहासने बसी आरती करे ना ब्रह्मा आदि देवगारे आर देवा नारा हरे आदि करे चामार ढोलाय नारा संजयामो कुंदवसु ओषधिगाया हरि बोल गौर गौर है देवा शंखो बाजे घंटा बाजे बाजे करो तालो माधुरा मृदंगा बाजे परामरसाला मधुर 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 बाजे मधुर 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 बाजे शंका बाजे घंटा बाजे मधुर 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 बाजे शंका बोला शंका बाजे घंटा बाजे मधुर 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 बाजे शंका बाजे हरे 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 मधुर 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 बाजे मधुर 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 बाजे के बाबा हो कोटे चंद झिने वदान उज्ज्वला हो कोटे झिने गलादेशे वनमाला कोरी झलमाला शिव शिव शुक नारदा प्रेमे गदा गदा शिव शुक गुरुवाका देवे नदाद के गोरार संपा केवा जायो जय गोरा चांदेर आरती को शोभा जयो जानावी तटवने जगा मन लोभा बोलो जानावी तटवने जगा मन लोभा माना लोभा जगा बोलो जगा जाना मना लोभा गौरांग रारते कशोभा जग जाना मना लोभा गौरांग आरती शोभा जग जाना मना गौरांग आरती के शोभा जग जाना मना लोभा गौरांग जगा जाना मना लोभा जगा इत गौर हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल इत गौर नमः विष्णुपदाय कृष्ण प्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी इति नामिने नमः। जय प्रभुपाद। नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पचतो देशतारिणे ना जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभो नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। श्री कृष्ण चैन चैन हरिवन हरिबोल। Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Shri Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Hey Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Bol, Hare Bol, chant everyone. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare. Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Bol Har Bol, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Bola Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Govinda Jaya Jaya Gopala Jaya Jaya Govinda. Govinda Jaya Jaya Gopala Jaya Jaya Govinda. Bolo Radha Raman, Hare Govinda Jaya Jaya. Radha Raman, Hare Govinda Jaya Jaya. Govinda Jaya Jaya Gopala Jaya Jaya. Govinda Jaya Jaya Gopala Jaya Jaya. Radha Raman, Hare Govinda Jaya Jaya. Radha Raman, Hare. Bolo Radha Raman, Hare Govinda Jaya Jaya. Govinda Jaya Jaya Gopala Jaya Jaya. Govinda Jaya Jaya. Govinda Jaya Jaya Gopala Jaya Jaya. Radha Raman, Hare Govinda Jaya. Radha Raman, Hare Govinda Jaya. Jai Jagannath, Jai Jagannath, Jai Jagannath Swami, Jai Jagannath. Jai Jagannath, Jai Jagannath, Jai Jagannath Swami, Jai Jagannath. Jai Baladeva, Jai Subhadra, Jai Baladeva, Jai Subhadra, Jai Baladeva. Jai Baladeva, Jai Subhadra, Jai Baladeva, Jai Subhadra, Jai Baladeva. जगन्नाथ स्वामी नयन पथगामी भव तुमे कायमत पामी जगन्नाथ स्वामी नयन पथगामी भव तुमे जगन्नाथ जगन्नाथ स्वामी नयन पथगामी भव तुमे हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम राम हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 राम राम हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे बोलो हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे राम 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 हरे हरे नित्य गौर हरि बोल नित्य गौर जय नित्य गौर सुंदर जय नित्य गौर सुंदर जय नित्य गौर सुंदर जय राधा माधव राधे राधे जय माधव जय राधा श्याम सुंदर जय राधा बोलो जय जगन्नाथ जय बलदेव जय सुभद्रा जय नित्य गौर हरि बोल नित्य गौर हरे जय जगत गुरु शिल प्रभुपदा जगत गुरु शिल प्रभुपदा जय जय प्रभुपा निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे हरे हरे जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमत परिवराज अष्टोत्तर श्री डिवाइन जैसे भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी शिल प्रभुपाद महाराज के जय जय ओम नित्य लीला प्रविष्ट शिल भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती प्रभुपाद महाराज के जय गौर किशोर बाबा जी महाराज के जय सच्चिदानंद भक्ति विनोद हर के जय गुरु परंपरा के जय अनंत कोटि वैष्णविंद के जय नामाचार्य हरदास सागर के जय प्रेम से गौ जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासदि गौर भक्त वृंद के जय जय श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरी गोधन के जय श्री नवदीप माय प्रधान के जय मथुरा वृंदाशु द्वारका साहित्य प्रधान के जय पुरुषोत्तम क्षेत्र श्री जगन्नाथ प्रधान के जय भगवान जगन्नाथ बलदेव सुभद्रा चित्तूदन चक्रधार जय श्री राधा श्याम सुंदर के जय श्री राधा माधव जी के जय श्री निताय कुंड निताय गौर सुंदर के जय गंगा माई यमुना माई के जय वृंददेव भक्त देव के जय समस्त भक्त वृंद के जय हरिनाम संकीर्तन के जय हरे कृष्ण महामंत्र के जय इस्कॉन बाल्टीमोर यात्रा के जय निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल ऑल ग्लोरीज assembled with हरे all glorious assembled with हरे all glorious assembled with हरे all glory Shri Guru and Gauranga all glory Prabhupada.
Namaste Narashingaya Haribo, Haribo. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Welcome to ISKCON Baltimore, New Kulina Gram Dham, aboard of Sri Sri Nitai Gaur Sundar, Sri Sri Radha Madhav, Jagannath Baldev Subhadra, and our dear most Srila Prabhupada. So I guess today we have no sponsors for a feast. So if anybody is inspired to sponsor for today's feast, you are most welcome to contact us, myself, Vidur Prabhu or Adokshish Prabhu there. A few announcements. We are only few days away, technically, from our annual Rath Yatra. So actually I would like to invite Yatin Prabhu to come speak few words. To give some updates regarding Rath Yatra. I mean, we have posted on our website and all the information is there. So, Yatin Prabhu, you want to speak few words regarding Rath Yatra?
Hare Krishna, everybody. So, as Shram Prabhu said, we're just a couple of days away from our annual Rath Yatra festival. So, please, everybody, join us. Invite your friends and family members. This year, there are some changes in the route that we're going to take, but we'll be starting from the McKeldin Square area and then work our way, backwards, and then there'll be a procession to bring the DDs back to the park. So just keep an eye out on the, the ISKCON Baltimore community, chat for any updates, but please invite your friends, your family members, and we obviously need a lot of help. We'll need volunteers, and you can all see me or Mohit Prabhu to, sign up for helping out in any way possible. We encourage everyone to kind of, do their service in their best capacity. We need all the volunteers we can get. And if anyone's interested also in financially supporting the Rath Yatra Festival, that's a wonderful service you can do as well. So you can contact Sham Prabhu or the devotees here in the temple. But let's all be enthusiastic for the Lord. We need that. So, we'll obviously pray for His mercy that He can bless us and bless all of Baltimore. But let's bring our enthusiasm to greet the DDs and, let's make this a wonderful Rath Yatra festival, the best ever. So, thank you very much for all your support. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Yatin Prabhu. So the changes that we spoke in the past, and I'm going to repeat one more time. Many people, I see new faces over here. So the Rath Yatra timing is actually 10:30. 10:30 will start from the place where we used to end the parade. Okay? So that is McKeldin Square. So we'll start the parade from there. We'll come in opposite direction, pass the Science Center, make a left, and then we'll stop the Rath cart at the Rash Field. So that will be exactly at 12 o'clock. We cannot be on streets, again requesting all our dear congregation members, please abide by the rules. Police can spot us. We look different than we are wearing dhoti, sari or anything. So they know. So they have taken drone pictures from last year and they say that our people don't abide by the rules. So please be off the street by 12 o'clock. That's the notification that we have received from the Baltimore City Police and the Traffic Division. So then we'll, from Rash Field onwards journey, will continue on the boardwalk, as we mentioned in the past. So we'll be using hand carts or a golf cart. Possibly we are trying to see what arrangements can be made. So we'll be going from there, basically in a style of Harinam. We are chanting and dancing together and going through a nice festival happening over there, which Nilmada Prabhu mentioned. So we'll cross through that and then come back to our festival site. That is the McKeldin Square. A few safety tips. We have to be on a time and we have to end it on a time. Please take care of your children. No crossing the road on the other side. Most probably, like I mentioned, the Baltimore City is going to enforce with barricades. So probably we'll have barricades starting all the way from McKeldin Square till the point that we get out. So there will be bike racks or barricades put out throughout. Even if not, please cooperate with the devotees who are doing the services, especially helping devotees to have a safer Rath Yatra. So please listen to them. Basically, don't come near the four big wheels near the Rath. Join the Kirtan, join in the celebration, along. But please keep in mind, especially if you see any elderly people, I know it's going to be good weather that day and it's going to be pretty hot also. So if you see somebody elderly and if you want to help out, taking care of them or getting them along with you till we stop the parade at the rush field, that will be helpful also. We are also constantly looking for volunteers who would be actually helping us out to set up. So festival, even though the festival is on May 27th, 26th is the day that we will be setting it up. So we request devotees will be probably doing that a night before. So those enthusiastic devotees, I know that it's going to be Friday evening or so when the Festival of India truck arrives. So we will have few hours until we set up. We constantly put messages on the our WhatsApp group. Or you can see Yatin Prabhu or Mohit Prabhu. They are coordinating the volunteers like Yatin Prabhu mentioned. So we need a lot of help to set up. Also on the day of festival, we need the volunteers to distribute water, distribute prasad, transport prasad from the temple. And there are many activities. So if you can please let us know if you are available, that will be highly appreciated. So that is the announcement on the part of Rath Yatra. If anybody has any questions or any confusion still, you can come see myself, Yatin Prabhu. We can try to resolve any confusions. But again, this year Rath Yatra is not starting from the Key Highway, starting from McKeldin Square. So we'll go opposite direction. Few announcements in regards to New York Rath Yatra. So we are very glad to announce that this year we have 2 buses going to New York Rath Yatra. And we've been announcing and all the seats are basically taken, only 3 seats are left. So that is in bus number 2. Bus number 1 was full within like 45 minutes of announcing. So we had to get a bus 2, and we actually intend to only take 2 buses because of time and preparation required. So if any devotees are interested, we have 3 more seats left. If you can contact myself or Dokshaj Prabhu will be there. So that's the announcement from the New York Rath Yatra point of view. And now let's welcome our today's speaker, Her Grace Devaki Mataji. With the loud Haribol, I'll just give a little introduction about Devaki Mataji. So Devaki Mataji is a dear disciple of His Holiness Niranjan Maharaj. She joined a Brahmacharini ashram in Sydney, Australia in 1985. As a Grihastha, she preached in the former Soviet Union since 1999, served as a renowned traveling preacher, regularly visiting India, Bangladesh, Eastern and Western Europe, the USA, Australia, and New Zealand. She served on the GBC Committee for Devotees Care and currently promotes such care as a top priority within the ISKCON family. Her multifaceted understanding of Vaishnava culture inspired her to establish the Institute of Spiritual Culture in 2014, offering insightful education in Vaishnava life. She has published 4 books and conducts holy name retreats around the world. So let's welcome Devaki Mataji. Haribo.
Hare Krishna. Om Agyantimandasya Agyanandalashalakaya Chakshunmalitam Jena Tasmai Shri Guve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manupistam Stapidam Yena Vuttale Swayam Upakaramayam Dadati Swavadantikam Namam Vishnupada Kashapista Vuttale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Govani Pachaine Nivishesha Shunyavadi Pashatari Shatarine Vanshakapa Trivasha Kripa Sanuvevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadada Shri Vasadi Go Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So first of all, it is my great pleasure that I have the opportunity once again to visit your wonderful community. I was here last time about 4 years ago, maybe some of you remember. And yes, so today we have a very special topic. Let me, get the Bhagavatam. The topic we want to discuss today is envy, our main obstruction within relationships. So I think this envy is relevant for each and every one of us, no matter whether we are here the very first time. Actually, by the way, do we have anybody who is visiting the temple the first time? Anybody here? Yes, okay, quite a few people. Okay, special welcome to you. We are always happy to meet new people who show some interest in our lifestyle and philosophy. Yeah, so the topic of envy is relevant no matter whether we are coming the very first time or whether we are coming here for the last 30 years, right? I think it is relevant for each and every one of us. So to begin with, let me first of all express that this discussion is not meant to detect the envy in other people, but it is meant to detect the envy in our hearts. This is very important to express. What does it mean when we use this discussion to detect the envy in other people's hearts? What does it mean? That we are envious, exactly. So let us not fall into this trap of allowing our envy to manifest in such a gross way, because we will discuss how envy manifests towards seniors, towards equals, and also towards subordinates. So especially when it comes to envy towards subordinates, very easily we fall into this trap of thinking, oh, just see, my superior, my authority must be envious. That's why they treat me like this. So this we don't want to do, right? We want to use this discussion to detect how the envy manifests in our own hearts. Also, in the 5th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, in the word-for-word translation, it says kalaha, meaning the envious, and then Prabhupada puts in brackets almost everyone. Prabhupada has a very special sense of humor to make the point, because, yeah, I'm sure we all know that envy is quite a nasty quality, and we like to think ourselves that we don't have this. It's only the others who are envious, and they're especially envious of me. But I don't have that, right? So that's why Prabhupada says, almost everyone. So that means, most likely, it also includes us, right? Yes, but let's be clear about that before we start the discussion. Also, let us first understand where envy actually comes from. As soon as we desire sense gratification, then envy and competition will enter. So sense enjoyment cannot be separated from envy. They go hand in hand. And here in the material world, we are actually here because we desire to enjoy separately from the Lord. So therefore, envy is very prominent. I like to understand envy as a certain state of heart, a certain kind of consciousness, which actually manifests in all our relationships. Very often we use this term envy towards people who have something which we don't have. And therefore, we are envious that they have something which we don't have. But actually, envy is much broader and deeper. It also comes out towards subordinates who don't have anything which we don't have. In fact, even towards children, that envy can manifest. Let's remember Hiranyakashipu, right? We just recently had Lord Nrsingadev's appearance. So, Hiranyakashipu is like the embodiment of envy and false ego. Yes, the embodiment. And he was so envious towards his little son Prahlad, right? So envious that he wanted to kill him. Even killing animals in order to eat. We can also see this as a kind of envy, right? I kill you so I can enjoy my tongue. This is actually envy, you know? Yes. I use you for my sense gratification. So yes, envy manifests in so many forms. And because it is very subtle, very easily it is undetected. So that's why I like to discuss these topics, just so we become a little more conscious. Because Srila Prabhupada was saying to us, before becoming Krishna conscious, we actually have to become conscious first. And so often, we are just so unconscious, unconsciously floating through the day, floating through our life, saying things, doing things, without being conscious of why we say and do things and what effect it has on others. So to become conscious is actually the first step in spiritual development, that we become conscious of our actions, our motives, our desires, what is happening there in our hearts. Yes, so now let me read to you from the 4th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. It may be a little unusual to you that you discuss a verse from the Bhagavatam on the Sunday program, but this is just such a nice verse, and Prabhupada's words in the purport are so simple and yet so profound and so relevant to all of us that I do want to share this with you. So this is 4th canto, chapter 8, verse number 34. The chapter is called Dhruva Maharaj Leaves Home. So that's a whole big story which we will not get into now because we don't have the time. So I will simply chant once the Sanskrit, just once through. Gunadikam mudam lipshet anukusham gunadamat maitrim samanat anvichen natapir abhibhuyate. Translation. So please carefully listen, because we want to collect the different characteristics of the envious and non-envious behavior towards seniors, equals, and juniors. And yes, a little warning, be ready for a little heart surgery. Because people have often expressed this to me, that they realized, oh my God, this is me. I have it all. Envy towards seniors equals juniors. I never even realized, So yeah, I like to stimulate transformation. The process of bhakti is all about transformation. We want to transform our heart, our likes and dislikes, our worldviews, our patterns of behaviors. We don't want to stay as we are. So I don't give spiritual entertainment. That's not my style. I like to, inspire and stimulate introspection, reflection, internal work, and transformation. So, and this topic is a good one for that. So, translation. Every man should act like this, and man meaning human, not man in contrast to women. So every man should act like this. When he meets a person more qualified than himself, he should be very pleased. When he meets someone less qualified than himself, he should be compassionate towards him. And when he meets someone equal to himself, he should make friendship with him. In this way, one is never affected by the threefold miseries of this material world. So that statement is already amazing, that if we just learn how to act perfectly in a non-envious way, we are actually never affected by the threefold miseries of this material world. Wow, that's promising, isn't it? Yeah. So, purport by Prabhupada. Generally, we find someone more qualified when we find someone more qualified than ourselves, we become envious of him. When we find someone less qualified, we deride him. And when we find someone equal, we become very proud of our activities. These are the causes of all material tribulations. Here we have that statement once again. These are the causes of all material troubles. The great sage Narada therefore advised that a devotee should act perfectly. Instead of being envious of a more qualified man, one should be jolly to receive him. Instead of being oppressive to a less qualified man, one should be compassionate towards him, just to raise him to the proper standard. And when one meets an equal, instead of being proud of one's own activities before him, one should treat him as a friend. One should also have compassion for the people in general who are suffering due to forgetfulness of Krishna. And Prabhupada very often, the last sentence in the purport, he one more time hits the nail on the head. And he does so here. He says, these important functions will make one happy within this material world. So a third time we have this statement that if we just act in a non-envious way, we can be happy, even here in Baltimore. Even though we always preach there is no happiness in this material world. But well, this verse says something different. So in one sense we can say, if we actually act in a non-envious way, then we are not really part of this material world. In the spiritual world, because there is no desire for sense enjoyment, there's also no envy. Yes, that's the mood in the spiritual world. There is absence of sense gratification and envy, because all the residents there, they have a higher level of pleasure, to give pleasure and satisfaction to the Lord rather than their own senses. And therefore, sense gratification is for them a boring waste of time. Yes, completely boring, not attractive. So, and therefore, there's also no envy there. That's the spiritual world. So, if we are able to actually purify our heart from envy, then we can say we are already within our minds in the spiritual world. And therefore, we can be happy anywhere. Right? Yes. Actually, in one purport in the Bhagavatam, Prabhupada says, actually, there is no material world. There's only forgetfulness of Krishna. And of those living entities who are in forgetfulness of Krishna, from them it is to be said that they are in the material world. You know? Prabhupada very nicely puts it. From them we can say it's to be said that they are in the material world. But actually, Prabhupada was not part of this material world. He was in the spiritual world, right? Definitely, you know? So he was just externally functioning in this crazy circus here. But he was part of the spiritual world, no doubt. Yes. Yes, so now let us have a look at the different criteria. How? Let's start with the relationship towards seniors. How does envy manifest towards seniors? We may remember Prabhupada says in the purport, if we are non-envious, how do we receive seniors? We are jolly to receive them. We are pleased to receive them, right? So, the envious way would be that we are not so jolly to receive them, not so pleased, right? We may go up to a visitor and say, oh, Haribol Prabhu, nice to see you. How long are you here? Oh, 3 days. Okay, good. You know, and in our hearts we think, thank God, after 3 days he goes again. And then I have the show here to myself again, because he's stealing my show here. Right? Yeah, these things are sometimes creeping into our hearts. Yeah, so we are not so pleased to receive him. What else do? We actually do much more than that. Any suggestions? What do we do when we are envious of a senior? Don't tell me you're not envious. Huh? Come on. Yes? Sorry? We try to overtake them, so how do we do that? we try to act smart, we give advice to seniors. Yeah, that would be really against Vaishnava etiquette. But we do much more. We are fault-finding. We criticize behind their back just to pull them down and establish our superiority. Right? Yes. Oh, we are pretty good at that. Let us imagine a visiting preacher comes, gives a lecture, and our friend says to us, "Oh, that was a nice lecture, wasn't it?" And then we say, "Yeah, it was all right, but he didn't quote so many verses. It was not so shastric." So we try to find something to reduce his importance. And in other words, we say, if I had given the lecture, I would have quoted so many more verses. Yes, yes. And in the name of just sharing, we do these things, not even realizing that there's envy behind it. And it's interesting, even if it is true that he didn't quote so many verses, but still, just the fact that we have this urge to make the statement, if we really look in our hearts, we have to detect that there is some envy there. Yes, yes. So a non-envious person would never point out any shortcomings, even though he also sees them. But no, what's the point of pointing them out? Who is it going to help? Nobody. Not that person, not ourselves, not the person hearing our comment. It only magnifies negativity. Yes. I once saw one speaker demonstrating this on the Vyasa-san. He was saying, when we glorify people, then we also go up, right? But if we put people down, then we also go down. Good to remember, yes. We do these things so often and we don't even detect that there's envy behind it, to make some negative comment about somebody just to reduce him a bit in his importance and all that, Yes, very common thing. Yeah, so we backbite, we fault find, we diminish his position. And there's one more thing that we sometimes do, that we simply ignore him. We pretend that he is nobody, not worth giving any attention to. Yeah, there's also envy behind it, that we just look the other way, we pretend we don't see him. Nobody, he's nobody anyway. Why giving him some special attention? There's also one way how our envy manifests. So now, let's look at the non-envious way towards seniors. We said already, we are jolly to receive him, and truly jolly from the heart, not just with a plastic smile, right? But truly pleased from deep within the heart. And what else do we do? How do we associate with a senior? We serve them, and what else? We respect them, and what else? We learn from them, we inquire from them. Pariprashnena sevaya. So this is not only towards Guru like that, tadvidi panipatina pariprashnena sevaya. So let me quote a few verses, just so you don't have to say she didn't quote any verses. Not to give your envy any chance. So yes, so it's not only towards guru, that we inquire with humility and we render service, but actually towards any senior devotee. This is the way how we take advantage of the presence of a more experienced devotee. That we inquire, we want to hear from that person, and we offer menial service. And it's interesting that the inquiry and the menial service, they enhance each other. So our humble service puts us in the right frame of mind to hear, and then the more we hear, the more we feel inspired to serve. And the more we serve, the more we feel inspired to hear. So this hearing and serving, they enhance each other. And they're very important aspects of our devotional life, you know. And actually often we can detect today that people, rather than inquiring, they like to talk about themselves. Have you ever noticed that? People love to talk about themselves, about all their achievements and what they have all been doing and this and that and this and that. So, especially in the presence of a senior devotee, this would be really inappropriate. Unless that senior person asks us, oh, what service are you doing? What have you been doing? You know, then we can humbly share. But just talking about ourselves, you know, this really has the mood of showing off and boasting, trying to impress the senior person, how great we are. You know, so this is not the way how we are meant to associate, you know. So Vaishnava etiquette and culture is always our saving grace. Because Vaishnava etiquette and culture is actually designed to bring us to the point of Trinada Pisunichena, that we are more humble than a blade of grass and more tolerant than a tree. If we were that already spontaneously, then no need for Vaishnava etiquette and culture. But because we are not, and here in the Western world we are heavily surrounded, you know, by the opposite propaganda of showing off and boasting and pushing yourself to the front and being recognized and. So it goes 180 degrees opposite to Krishna consciousness, you know. Yes. In 269 Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, what is day to the common person is night to the introspective sage. So, spiritualist, materialist, their realities are as different as day is from night. So we can actually say what is success in material life may very well be an obstacle in spiritual life. You know, it's the perverted reflection. So the top, what's the topmost in material life becomes the lowest in spiritual life. And opposite also. What is the topmost in spiritual life is considered to be being a loser and weakness and unwanted in material life. Good to keep that in the back of our minds, you know, that we always reflect, oh, this success in spirit and material life, is this really helpful for my spiritual development? And most of the times we have to detect, no, it's not. It creates an impediment. Yes. So we have to be very careful. Very careful what kind of elements and moods we are inviting into our life. Yes, very careful. So let us move on. By the way, the announcements were going a little longer today, so I hope you will give me a little bit more time. Is that all right? Yes? Okay, good. So, towards juniors, the envious behavior. Can anybody remember what we read in Prabhupada's purport? How is envy manifesting towards juniors, inferiors? Yeah, we putting them down, we deride them, we are oppressive to them, condescending, we talk down on them, right? Sometimes we make fun out of them on their expense. We make a good joke and have a good laugh on their expense, just to establish our superiority, even though we are already superior. But this envious mentality, makes us express this very strongly. You are nothing, I am up here, right? Then also, as a superior, we say, yes, I want you to come up, but definitely not higher than I am, right? We want to make sure I am always up here, you always stay in your place. Even though, of course, I am your well-wisher and I want the very best for you, but definitely, you should stay below me, right? Oh yes, that mentality is there, yes. To actually really want somebody more successful than we are, more glorious, that requires non-envy. Yeah, that's not so easy, Yeah, so what else do we do? Well, sometimes our envy can also manifest that we constantly and overly harshly correct and chastise a subordinate. That we're always picking on him, and for every little thing we chastise him and put him down, and again, and why do you do like this? And this, by the way, can even manifest towards children also. We have to be very careful that we don't ventilate our frustration and disappointments with life and our envy on the children. Sometimes when I travel, in airports or whatever, I see this sometimes, how people just scream at their small children, and my God, and the child is only 2 or 3 and can't even understand what is going on, and this happens when the parent's heart is just so full of frustration and anger and envy, and it just comes out in all relationships, even with a child, yes. So we have to be very careful, very careful. Yes, so in this way, we try and establish our superior position. Actually, I also noticed that sometimes we are not so good in delegating tasks. That we have this mood, either you do it or I do it. And if you do it, okay, good luck, you do it. But actually, good delegation means that we follow up. We ask, how are you doing? Do you need more manpower, more money? Do you need any help? So if we follow up like that, then we show that we actually want that person to be glorious and successful. Maybe even more successful than as if we would have done it. But if we don't follow up, very often there is this mood in the heart, well, let's hope they will not be so successful. And then I can say, just see, I knew you can't do it. I should have done it myself. I would have done it much better than this. right? Yeah, this sometimes sneaks in, Yeah, so good to hear these things so we become a little more conscious. Because, this envy is so subtle, so deep. We have been carrying this with us for so many lifetimes already. So, and we just got so used to it, we think this is the way to do things, and we don't even realize, right? So now the non-envious behavior. What did Prabhupada say? We are compassionate, exactly. We are reaching out in a compassionate way. We want to affectionately uplift that person, and help him and make him glorious and successful. Exactly. And we can say a non-envious person knows exactly how to connect with anybody. Srila Prabhupada himself was a perfect example of this. He knew how to connect with anybody and everybody for their ultimate benefit of uplifting them, bringing them closer to Krishna. No matter whether it was a small child, or a hippie, or a drunkard, or a scientist, or some religious person, some theologian. So he knew how to connect with anybody and everybody, and for their ultimate benefit. And sometimes Prabhupada was very heavy, He called people fools and rascals and so many things. But because people could feel, this man wants my very best. He is not envious. He actually is my dearmost friend and well-wisher. That's why, as a rule, people did not take offense, right? So, but we cannot so easily copy that. Because if we call people fools and rascals, then most likely there is a bit of envy, coming into our words. So, we cannot simply imitate. And Prabhupada used to say, I can speak like that, I'm an old man, but you can't. But of course, the reason why we can't speak like that is not because Prabhupada was an old man. No, of course he would not say, I am non-envious, so I can speak like that, but you aren't. Prabhupada would never say this, So he just made it simply as a matter of age, I'm an old man, I can speak like that, but you can't, so we have to be very careful, we can't imitate Prabhupada. And there is a nice little episode when Prabhupada was visiting Australia, and he was in the early morning. Prabhupada liked to go on morning walks, and he was driving back from his morning walk in the car with some of his disciples, 6 o'clock in the morning in Melbourne. And one of the devotees was saying, look, Srila Prabhupada, all these mudhas going to work. Mudha, all these asses, because 6 o'clock in the morning in a Western city, already people rushing to work. So he was saying, look, Srila Prabhupada, all these asses, these donkeys, mudhas, going to work. So, and then Prabhupada's response was quite remarkable. Prabhupada said, yes, how can we save them? And this devotee who made this comment about the mudhas, he was taken aback. He realized, Prabhupada is in a very different mood, because he was a little proud and arrogant. Look at these mudhas, thank God we are not like them, they're going to work. That was his mood. But Prabhupada's mood was very different. So then when he looked over to Prabhupada, he actually saw that Prabhupada cried a tear a tear was running down his cheek. Yes, how can we save them? So that was Prabhupada's mood. But are we thinking like that when we go to work in Baltimore here early in the morning? How can we save them? No. We may still be thinking, oh, thank God we have Krishna and they don't, or something. But yeah, that's what it means, compassion, para dukkha dukhi. That the only thing that gives a pure devotee suffering is when he sees others suffer. About himself, he doesn't care whether he is comfortable or uncomfortable. But what gives him suffering is when he sees others in ignorance and suffering. Prabhupada was the perfect example of that. So now let us move on to equals. Envious behavior towards equals. Anybody remembers what the purport said? We are proud of our own activities. We are chanting our own glories. Right? Yes. Actually, behind this tendency is that two envious people who are equal, they say, or they think, all right, we are equal, but actually, I'm a little superior. Right? That's behind it. So, and that's why they are proud of their own activities in order to impress the other person how great I am, that actually I am superior. Yes. Oh, this is really going on, In the name of sharing. I'm just sharing with my friend. Let us imagine two traveling preachers meet. So then the one starts, oh, guess what? I've just been on the London Rath Yatra. And guess what? I was leading the kirtan for 45 minutes. You want to see? YouTube. Here, have a look. I'll show you. I send you the link. And then at the end of the parade, big tent, I was talking. I was giving the whole talk in front of hundreds and thousands of people. Again, here, look at this. The photos, YouTube, I'll send it over to you. And, and he carries on and on and on what he's all been doing. So, and then after a while he says, and what about you, Prabhu? What have you been doing? So, and then, by then the person thinks, oh my God, you are so great, I'm nothing. I haven't done anything. You are fantastic. So like that, we are boasting. And there is this competitiveness there, right? Yes. Envy immediately leads to competitiveness, especially amongst equals. Yeah, so now the non-envious behavior amongst equals, what does that look like? Friendship. So now let us understand this more deeply, because friendship we can also have with seniors and with juniors. But amongst equals who are non-envious, there is a very special kind of friendship there. And there's actually also a kind of competition there. What's the competition amongst equals who are non-envious? Who can understand? Glorifying each other. The competition is that we push each other forward, right? Because Vaishnava humility makes us think that actually the other person is more experienced. He is more advanced, right? So then we push each other forward. And that's exactly the mood in the spiritual world. It is described that actually the gopis feel more pleasure when they push the other gopis and manjaris forwards towards Krishna, rather than enjoying with Krishna themselves. They feel more pleasure giving that opportunity to others. So that probably is quite foreign for us, right? We would think the greatest pleasure is to push ourselves to the front there, right? But in the spiritual world, other way around. Yeah, so if we want to go there, we already have to cultivate this mood here and now, you know. Yeah, so amongst equals who are non-envious, they push each other forward. They want to hear from each other, you know. One says to the other, oh, I want to hear from you, you give the class. Or I want to join your kirtan, you lead the kirtan. And then they also inquire from each other very confidentially. You know, that one says to the other, oh, you've been, you know, distributing Prabhupada's books for 35 years. How do you do it? What's your secret? And the other one says, oh, you've been a brahmachari for 35 years. What's your secret? How do you do it? So there's this very confidential, intimate inquiry. And that makes this special friendship, which is only available amongst equals who are non-envious. Not possible with seniors, not possible with juniors, right? Very intimate inquiry and exchange, you know. So that's the specialty, you know, amongst equals who are non-envious. Yes, and they also serve each other as if the other person is senior, right? They want to do menial service for each other. They want to inquire from each other. They actually treat each other as more experienced, you know? Yes, very sweet. But the price to pay for the sweetness is to be non-envious. Yes, not so easy. So now, my last question to you. Which of the relationships is most purifying? With seniors, with equals, with juniors? What do you think? Well, we can say in the very beginning stage of life, with seniors is definitely very purifying. But most purifying is indeed with equals. Because in our association with equals, the most pinching and biting envy from the most hidden corners of the heart comes to the surface. Yes. Because, you know, towards seniors, easy to say, oh, I'm their servant, no problem. And we hope that their glory is splashing over to us. Look, I'm always here next to Guru Maharaj. I'm his most confidential assistant. Every photo, it's me there right next to him. Right? Yes. And towards juniors, also easy to say, oh, I'm their servant, you know, being surrounded by the juniors who sit at our feet. Very easy. But equals, if we have to share our influence with a similarly influential person, that's most challenging. Yes. And we can see, you know, on that platform often all kinds of tension and even conflicts arise, even in our communities. It's usually amongst equals. You know, some power games, some ego battles. Yeah. Yes. Yeah, so that's why we should invite as much as we can this equal association. That we share our influence with somebody equally influential. You know? We may have that practical experience when two expert cooks are cooking lunch for Guru Maharaj, whew, this can be an intense experience. If it is one expert, one helper, no problem, right? But two experts, then immediately the competitiveness comes in. Who knows better what Guru Maharaj likes and what he can't eat and what he should eat and likes to eat? And oh my God, I've seen it. How people steal each other's boga and steal each other's pots. Or the other person cooks something and then the other person says, he can't eat this. No need to even serve it. That's, I think, the ultimate expression of envy, I know this will not be good for him. No need to serve it. Take it away. I have to protect Guru Maharaj from eating something which is not good for him, So why not serve it, Let him glance at it, let him ask, let him try a little spoonful or something. But if we don't even want to have it served, oh my God, Yes. Yeah, and I mean, all these things are going on in our lives, and we don't even detect what's behind it. We can all justify it and say, well, I know what Guru Maharaj's diet is, and he can't eat it. We can all justify it, Yes, and we may not even realize that, the root cause here is our envy in the heart, Okay, I mean, there's so much more to say, but maybe we'll leave it at that. And I just want to see if there's maybe one or two quick questions. Are there any quick questions? Yes, Prabhu.
What is the difference between envy and jealousy?
Okay. What's the difference between envy and jealousy? Well, as far as I understand, envy is more fierce, whereas jealousy is more directed towards, a person has something and we don't have, and we're just jealous, or I want that too, But envy is much more deep-rooted and more malicious somehow. And it comes out in all relationships. Whereas jealous, well, we are jealous when, our neighbor has a bigger car, or, sometimes in married life we may be jealous, if our husband has some dealings with other ladies and is nice to them. He has to follow the Vaishnava etiquette, of course, not to be too nice to them. But so then often the wife gets jealous that he gives them maybe more attention than her or something. So this is more the jealousy. It's more external somehow, but envy is more deep-rooted, Yes. What else? Anything else? Yes. So basically the question is, who is senior, right? That's a very common question. So the ultimate criteria is a person's Krishna consciousness. But because that we cannot measure so easily, that's why we accept more external and almost material criteria. And the most common one is, of course, how long that person has been initiated, first initiation, second initiation, even though it may actually not say much at all about the person's advancement, because it really depends how the person applies himself to the process. Yeah. But we have to somewhere start. So when a person got initiated is the main and foremost criteria. Then also a person's age. If a person is 30 years older, then simply, based on their life experience, we consider them senior, superior. Then also the ashram is there. Renounced ashram is also always superior to the other ashrams. Then also managerial position. You know, we may be longer in Krishna consciousness, but because a person has a managerial position, we accept him as superior. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur gives one more criteria, which we don't often hear, and which is a little funny. He says, he is superior who is bigger in body. So, you know, there's a few people here who are bigger in body, so you better watch out. You know, you better take the humble position. That's what Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, you know. Yes. So let me just quickly, before I finish now, I want to quickly take the opportunity to very briefly tell you a few things about these books, because they're all very relevant. Like this book here, Sheltering Relationships. Actually, this topic of envy is from this book. And there is so much more in this book than what I could discuss. And there's also 5 very practical steps how to uproot envy, which I didn't have time to present. So if you want to know these 5 steps, you better get the book. So, but the main topic of this book, Sheltering Relationships, is the topic of the importance of having a mentor, a counselor. That just having a guru, not enough. Our gurus have hundreds and thousands of disciples. They cannot possibly know each and every person's individual practical situation. So we need a more experienced devotee in our more regular proximity who can guide us, who can show us how to move forward step by step. Because if we don't have this, very easily we remain in our comfort zone. And then we become stagnant. And we may be coming for 30 years here to the temple for the Sunday program. But we will not go anywhere. Nothing is changing in our heart because we are not getting that help. How to adjust our life, how to balance our spiritual needs, our material needs. Very important topic. We have lost a lot of devotees because we did not recognize the importance of mentorship. So this is what this book is all about. Then we have spiritual culture, Krishna's divine system. This is about the whole gender confusion, that man, woman are very, very different. They have different natures, different qualities, because according to Krishna's system, they are meant to play different roles. And we women, we have a very powerful Shakti. In many ways, we are actually superior to the men. But we are meant to use that Shakti to empower the men and make them the heroes and not compete with them. This is what Prabhupada is explaining in the Bhagavatam. So this is very eye-opening, this topic. How we women are meant to empower the men, you know, rather than competing with them. But because of this man-woman equality propaganda, we women compete with the men today. And that actually weakens the man. That's why now, in Kali Yuga, the men become so irresponsible. We women contribute to that. Yes, we complain about it, and little do we realize how we contribute to it. So it's quite an eye-opening read. And in many temples, also in India and Europe, they use this book as a handbook for brahmachari training. Yes, even though the whole book is about women. But the man should understand woman's role very deeply. How we women are meant to be the Lakshmi Devis. You know, the energy to the men. You know, yes. So it's quite eye-opening how this man-woman equality actually puts the whole human society upside down. That's what it does. Yeah. all based on the Bhagavatam, not what I'm saying or something. So then we have the false ego, our constant companion and troublemaker. I think the title speaks for itself. All I can say is that it has helped me a lot to detect how my false ego gets into my way and pushes me to say and do things which I shouldn't say and do. It's so subtle. In the name of Krishna consciousness, very easily we can do the opposite of what we should be doing. Instead of dissolving and subduing the false ego, we can feed it and boost it and massage each other's false egos, and oh my God, yes. Very interesting, very relevant, practical application. And there's also a whole chapter about chanting the holy name, because the holy name is very instrumental in dissolving the false ego, but we have to chant with the right quality of feeling, with the right mood. Yesterday we had a 4-hour holy name session. So that in that chapter, it's like a summary of a holy name retreat. There's even much more in there than what we discussed yesterday. So you get a few good tools here. And last but not least, entering the Grihastha ashram. How to do it, how better not to do it. It's like a handbook for matchmaking. Yes. Very relevant for unmarried people, for parents who want to help their children find a compatible partner, for mentors, for counselors, bhakti vriksha leaders, or for anybody who wants to help others in finding a compatible partner. Of course, you know, people from Indian background, they understand that there should be a matchmaker, usually the parents, but these days people have lost the knowledge, what it takes that a man and woman are compatible. And the main consideration is caste and economics, you know, that the parents look for a well-earning spouse, you know, for their daughter, or for a career woman for their son, so she can help to pay off the big mortgage. And all the devotional aspects are not considered. Yes, I come across so many unhappy couples. And when I ask them, so how did you meet each other? Yeah, our parents put us together. And people don't even question, you know, they just meet once or twice and get married. But no, it's your life. You have to examine the person, the candidate. There's a whole list of over 100 topics which people should discuss with a cool head before they sign the contract, to really see, are we on the same page? Do we have the same goals in life? You know, yes. And also this book is relevant for people who are married already, but maybe they have not entered the Grihastha ashram yet. That's a difference, right? We may be married, but our family life may be mundane family life. It may be not an ashram. So there's also many good points which help us to understand what mindset and vision and approach to family life we should have if we want to mold it into an ashram, a place for conducive for self-realization. So if any of you want to get some books, these 2 books are $20 each. These, False Ego, a bit more heavy. And these 2 books are $15 each. You can meet me out there at the book table, and you can pay with cash or with Zelle. And if you like, I can also write some good wishes inside. So today is your chance. Also, let me announce tomorrow, 6:30, we will have a special program upstairs for the ladies. And we will discuss the topic of prajalpa. It will destroy this movement. This was a statement by Prabhupada. And not only that, we also want to give plenty of time for any kind of questions. So a whole question-answer session for the ladies. 6:30 tomorrow, so please come. Okay, thank you kindly for your attention and sorry for going a little over time. Srila Prabhupada ki, Samaveda Bhaktivinoda ki, Gaura Premanandi, Hare Hare Krishna. Thank you.